As we continue on in the desert, we have a perceived sense of scale of the desert, which appears gigantic unless we know where we're going. We don't really, and luckily it's an illusion of scale. The landmarks stick out, and they guide us thankfully along one plot point, which we'll discover through gameplay later. As we keep walking through the desert, we immediately find Marlena's trapped husband, and we discover how Renegade Shepard deals with people who are trying to survive.
I say leave him.
You're pretty heartless for such a pretty lady, you know?
I take it back. Let's congratulate his wife.
We're not privy to exactly what he did to Marlena, but it's assumed it's bad. Either way, without all the facts, this is not a reaction a Jedi should have. Or at least, Shepard should at least have some feeling through the Force telling her that this is a bad man. But even then, even if he was a horrible abuser, a Jedi would never allow a man to be victimized by a lethal trap. Regardless, this has nothing to do with our plot, so we just continue. We keep walking through the desert and get attacked by sand people. And again, and again, and then we encounter some guys next to a sand crawler being attacked by sand people, and then they attack us. Then a second wave comes, and then a third, and then we learn they have an enclave to the south, or some sort of entrance to the rest of the level.
You know about that enclave in the south? Don't even try to go near it. They've taken all the Zerka weapons that were supposed to protect our sandcrawlers. That place is a fortress, a death trap. You'll have to find some way to sneak into the place. That is not my job. They even had the Jawas disable the turrets and set them around their enclave. It's like a fortress now.
We arrive there and they come out in droves. This is really one giant bloodbath of a level in the desert. We manage to get through and then we get attacked by another group of sand people. I'm beginning to think they stole some Fremen from Dune. And weren't we supposed to be learning to talk to these guys somehow? They just come straight at us like we're an invading force. There's no opportunity to figure out their language, let alone have a dialogue. There's like hundreds or thousands of these guys on the planet. They're just willing to die. And then we get ambushed yet again. And then we start walking up to some sort of random sand people fort thing. And then we suddenly die. Okay. Okay, maybe we're doing something wrong here. So we go back to Anchorhead and talk to this Jawa called Iziz. And he mentions his Jawa tribe is being held captive by the Sand People. Now, apparently, he knows of the location of the star map, or at least he knows of a map. This is rather important, as this is why we're here. This is our plot. This is all we really care about. And it's a plot point that's apparently given to a random Jawa that we didn't even have to talk to. We can totally miss this guy. But we find out why this is later. We find Ash, and she wants to sell us some raid plate for cash. That's raid with a W.
For whatever it means, may the Force be with you. You saved us.
Oh, I guess she knew we were a Jedi? Or maybe she believes in the Jedi? Or she thinks this is a nice way of saying goodbye? Is it commonplace here on like the only settlement on the planet to be friendly with the Jedi? Maybe it's a local religion thing. Or I guess she's just being friendly. I don't know. It sounds a bit out of place. Anyway, we get back to where we got slaughtered, and it turns out you can equip the sand people clothing after killing them, which is cool, as most games should have you picking up exactly what your foes were wearing, or dropped. It's good consistency in storytelling, and it makes sense in the game. Now, in this case, we're dressed up as sand people, but as soon as we put this on, a question comes to my mind. That is, what are these gas masks? Are we actually breathing filtered air? Is it oxygen? Or are these like the Dune still suits? What is the physiology of these sand people? Are they just generic bipedal humanoids with weird masks who somehow live in the desert that George Lucas never bothered to explain, and we have to fill in the blanks so that
Get on with it.
we figure out we need to wear this clothing, and then we do so by talking to the captain again after the second wave of sand people attacking the sandcrawler area, and that he tells us that there are turrets at their base that will kill us immediately on sight. So it's good to know the details when trying to have a friendly conversation with the locals when all they want to do is kill you as soon as they see you in any context. We only figure this out if we talk to the captain, even though it's optional. Now, there's a giant sandcrawler to get our attention, which I would argue is a good form of using the environment to advance the story, especially in this kind of game where adventure is key. Exploration is necessary. Or you can simply try the clothing on yourself and deduce, oh, it changes my appearance. That would make sense when I start infiltrating someone's base. That is also a good way of telling the audience without directly explaining it to them. But I want to know in general. I want to know the lore. I want as much as possible.
Yes, get over there!
So you finally figured out you had to wear the disguise to get in. Great, awesome. You wear the disguise, you get in, but guess what? You had to bring HK-47 with you so you can translate to the Sand People, which, if you don't, they kill you. And to them, this apparently is not awkward at all. Maybe their culture has adapted to the use of protocol droids to teach Sand People how to talk, or other people how to learn their language. Who knows? I'm impressed that KOTOR has such a focus on language, but unfortunately, it's from the scatologic stuff that George Lucas created. So language is like the building block of storytelling, as we're heavily learned from Tolkien and other stories, well, all stories really. But there literally is no Sand People language or Sand People culture that we can really identify or we can understand. They're just people that happen to live in the desert somehow. They kill you on sight, they live in the desert, they wear masks, they carry sticks, and that's all. That's about all we know in KOTOR. I'm sure there's more to the EU, but this could be any kind of alien species, and it would have no meaning for anyone involved. So, via HK-47, our first contact tells us that we have to go talk to the chieftain, and our mask instantly comes off, and now everyone's aware we're an outsider. Luckily, we're not killed on the spot. It'd be kind of a waste of time if we were. But to prove that we're actually peaceful, or at least nice, we don't actually have to be, but we need to get the chieftain some water so that his people can move further away from Anchorhead. He wants moisture vaporators from the Zerka. It's antithetical how a desert nomadic tribe that despises machines needs machines for them to survive. So we get escorted outside, put our original gear back on, and head back to Zerka. Now the Zerka lady doesn't even have dialogue options for the moisture vaporators to buy, so you have to go talk to the storehouse manager. Though he says, "We don't quite look like a moisture farmers," I can't help but imagine the parallel between us and Luke Skywalker. Additionally, all it takes is one moisture vaporator, which essentially is an atmospheric water generator, but in Star Wars lore. Can't anyone with electricity become a moisture farmer just by purchasing a moisture vaporator? But the problem is we're in a desert, and I doubt there's running water here, so wouldn't everyone have a need for a moisture vaporator? I know there's a cantina, but there's really not that much humidity here. You need a large volume of these things, or a condensation method that doesn't use electricity for this to be a purely industrial purchase. Or is this like buying a new fridge? Is drinking not a problem in this tiny town? I mean, there is the cantina, so therefore there's... So you tell the guy the plan for what you're going to do with them. He's all for it, even though he works for Zerka. Kind of funny, corporations have bad people in them, or at least those in power who work in them. So we buy a pair of vaporators, that's how it works, and apparently they're pocket-sized, which is insane, but hey, science fiction, let's go with that, okay? So we go back, and now we call them the moisture converters. Not the power converters, not the moisture vaporators, okay. I guess by science fiction and using appropriate terms from lore, they mean, yeah, the thing that does the thing we need to progress the story. Okay, good. We say the deal's off unless the attacks stop. The chief says no. If you don't give us the water generator thingies, we'll just kill you, which is funny since I didn't need to return back here after I was let go. Yes, poor communication makes you want to kill people, especially if you can strangle them with your mind. Now, since we did this for him, he now wants to give us his gaffy stick. Now, I'm assuming this is a cultural thing, but we have no context for this. And the important thing is here, we never asked for the gaffy stick. There was no request we made to HK-47 to give us the stick as a result of the Zerka lady wanting us to get the stick. Now, unless HK-47 is doing more than we ordered him to do, that's possible. He seems like that kind of character, but this is coming out of nowhere. It just so happens he wants to give us his stick as a reward, even though he doesn't trust us. We can also explore the place now because of this. We can ask about Mission's brother, who is being held captive, as well as the star map. He'll give us a map, but it's guarded by a crate dragon, and there's a Twi'lek hunter in the area if we need to get help getting around that problem. Now immediately my writer's brain go, why didn't Mission's brother become the Twi'lek hunter? It's a coincidence that Mission's brother would also be here, which is a whole other issue, but why waste the character? Why waste the conflict? Why not make a tighter script and make him relevant to the plot? Instead, it's just a side mission drama thing, which is totally unrelated to us. We find the Jawa tribe being held captive, although it doesn't make sense why they're holding them captive. There's no real reason that I can see, especially since they need moisture vaporators in order to even move their tribe. It would seem somewhat deadly, if not resource inefficient, to hold people against their will indefinitely in your base of operations you could barely move with. Anyway, this is irrelevant as we want to get to the Krayt Dragon because the star map is past him. We go to a cave where some previous hunter of sorts is with Komad, the Twi'lek hunter, and the no-name human hunter gets destroyed somehow. Komad has placed mines outside the cave so as to hurt the dragon, but we have to coax him out somehow because apparently he can't do this for himself for some reason. I guess he's just being super cautious, and his previous partner apparently was very impatient. We learn that the Krayt Dragon eats banthas and exclusively hunters. So two things. So instead of just using us as bait and then running like crazy, or using that flying machine in the background there to run away like crazy, we're going to just lure some banthas in here for bait, and then get the banthas to retreat when they sense the Krayt Dragon coming by. I'm not sure about the logistics here. Whatever. I guess that's technically safer than us being the bait, but I'm not sure how it's going to be effective. We don't even know how the Krayt Dragon hunts or eats or whatever. However, the next problem is that the Sand People consider the banthas to be sacred, and they're all over the place, and they will probably attack us if we lure a herd here, which seems like a good topic of conversation to have with the chief, or at least to buy a bantha from one of the Sand People. Maybe we can convince them we're not going to get them killed or something. Kamad's doing this for the safety of the region and to follow in his dad's footsteps, who killed a Krayt Dragon in the past, just not as big as this one. So I'm assuming the evil force of the star map caused it to grow so big and nasty, but hey, who knows what the story will tell us later. Apparently there are two kinds of Sand People, those in the tribe and those who are in the deeper parts of the desert. Apparently we've dealt with both, and we're already acquired the bantha fodder some point in time, I don't remember. So now we have to run to some bantha and then have them chase us to the cave. But as soon as this happens, we get attacked by, more Sand People. After all this fighting, we just select the banthas and luckily get a cutscene straight to Kamad without explaining any logistics or the position of the Krayt Dragon in relation to the mines or where the mines are or where the fodder is for the bantha. We just get a cutscene. The dragon just gets up out of the cave, hits all the mines, and then falls over dead. Again, pacing is rule number one in this story. That can be done quickly. It'll skip everything and just get to that point. So Komad says goodbye. We whip out our lightsaber and start hacking away at the remains of the Krayt Dragon, and then it just disappears. Like it was some sort of force ghost or something. Why did we even do that? I don't know. So aside from the crystals, we also pick up a holocron and find the star map.
Hey, it's one of those star maps, ain't it? Kind of weird finding it in the back of a Krayt Dragon's lair, don't you think?
Mission Dear, I know you're really angry about your brother and you're really happy-go-lucky kind of person, but have you forgotten why we're doing this on this planet? It's this thing. That's the whole reason.
Observation. There is tremendous power emanating from the star map. I wonder if the Krayt Dragon was drawn to this cave because of it.
Now, I previously speculated that the narrator was going to bring this up, since I did so in the previous star map scene, so somehow animals are attracted to star maps because of their dark side power, and then is somehow controlled by it. I mean, it's a holographic computer terminal that's been in idle mode for tens of thousands of years. How is that attractive to a Krayt Dragon? How is that making them gigantic? What's going on? Oh, and if Tatooine is your first planet to travel to, Calo Nord pops up.
As a result, we emerged victorious.
So now that our plot point has been resolved, we can now go back to the Ebon Hawk. But we can also patch up things between Chakwas and Shepard, and then the game wants us to talk to Shepard again. Of course it does. Probably not the best scenario to have a flirting session with Shepard when there's a KillBot in between you two.
Commentary. I say we blast the meatbag and save you the trouble, Master.
So for plot progression, this mission or planet is rather interesting in simple RPG formats. The standard MO of RPGs is go everywhere, talk to everyone, interact with everything. Backtrack and repeat. Now we randomly discover our plot provider or plot ticket holder with a jawa. Through trial and error, that is getting killed by the Sand People's turrets, or through talking to the captain of the Sandcrawler, we learn we can disguise ourselves with the Sand People outfits we recover from their bodies. After trash mobs of these Sand People, we pick up their clothes and go on in. However, if we don't have HK-47 with us, and to the lair, we have to slaughter everyone, including the Sand People chieftain. You can still do this if you want to go dark side, though. So really, the plot providers are the random Jawa who wants his tribe freed from the Sand People, or the Sand People chieftain, all to get info on the Krayt Dragon, as that's where our star map is located. Similarly, how I recommended that Mission's brother being the supposed Krayt Dragon Twi'lek hunter, so too could Iziz, the Iziz Jawa guy, be the weird translator fellow you ran into after leaving the Zerka offices after getting the license for the first time. That would keep the plot as at least focused and unavoidable and informed to the audience, as opposed to just being some random guy you might miss that you have to talk to in order to figure out where to go next or why. You know, the Zerka plot to get you a pass is almost irrelevant. And you can bypass the whole returning to the chieftain's stick to the offices there. In fact, the whole hunter license becomes a MacGuffin along with the stick. You generally want to avoid MacGuffins. These are bad things. The interesting thing about that quest is it could have been related more, it could have been integrated more into the main plot, but it wasn't. Now, sadly, some parts of Tatooine seem cobbled together, despite being a prototype for what is perhaps the most famous desert planet in all of Star Wars lore.
Please try to stay focused. I doubt the Council would approve if they knew we were busy discussing our mutual attraction when we should be saving the galaxy from Malak. Mutual attraction? I never said... It's just an expression. Whatever our feelings... whatever your feelings, you have to try to ignore them. Don't let this complicate things. I admit, there were times that I wondered if this is more than just a mission to stop Malak. There were times when I wondered if this was also a way for the Council to test my own abilities. I wondered if the Council wanted to see how I would help and guide you on our quest. I wondered if they were testing me to see if I was ready to become a Jedi Master myself. And then I realized how foolish such thoughts were. As the Council explained, sending a Master in our group would only have drawn unwanted attention from the Sith. The fate of the galaxy is at stake. The Council would not risk it merely to test me. They calculated the risks, and in the end chose the only option available. You must learn to trust in the wisdom of the Council. Your destiny will come when its appointed time. You mustn't be so impatient. Must you be so frustrating? I admit I had a moment of foolish pride.